So my name is Deb Richmond. I'm the executive director of Branch House. We do business as Branch House, but we actually are registered as the Sullivan County Family Justice Center. Sullivan County is the highest county in Tennessee per capita for domestic violence incidences. And we're very high for sexual assaults also. We're also in the top 4 counties for domestic violence incidents where children are present. Now, all of these things affect generations upon generations. Sexual assault and domestic violence especially domestic violence, tends to be a generational event that happens. Children learn by watching their parents and what they're involved in, and then they grow up to mimic their parents, and then they teach their children. Before I came to Branch House, I worked for Bristol, Tennessee Police Department as an investigator. So when I first started at the police department in 1991, I was working with this generation involving child abuse. By the time I left the police department, 28 years later, I was working with this first group's grandchildren. So it was the same names over and over and over again. So we have to figure out a way to stop this generational learned habit that is formed at a very young age, because children's personalities are developed by the age of 5. So we have to get parents to understand that these things are influencing your children when they grow up, and it's influencing your grandchildren. What kind of legacy are you leaving?
My name is Brittany Fleener. I am the Coordinated Community Response Specialist. I have been at Branch House since September of 2020. If you look at us compared to our surrounding counties, we have so many resources available to victims, but our numbers were still astronomical. We had the highest sexual assault rate per capita in the state of Tennessee. That put us ahead of places like Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Memphis. That's staggering. That here, Sullivan County, our little place that we call home, was the most dangerous place for sex crimes. So we opened our doors in May of 2018. And in that time, we have worked with over 2,300 victims of interpersonal violence in and around Sullivan County. So that tells you the scope of the problem that we have here. But we didn't, in 2018, when we were trying to open, we didn't have a facility. And so General Staubus put out the word to the community and was like, listen, we're gonna have a family justice center here, and it's gonna be a benefit to the community, and it's really gonna help a lot of people. Where are we going to put it? And so this building, Branch House, actually sat empty for a while. It's always been Branch House. It was Branch House, years ago when it was a men's transitional housing facility. And then it sat empty for a while. And J.A. Street actually owns this building. And when they got word that there was a family justice center needing a facility, they said, listen, we have this building. It's not in the greatest condition, but it's yours for $1 a year if you want to put your family justice center there. the goal of having a family justice center is to essentially be a hub for those services. So victims come to us and they only have to tell their story one time to reduce that trauma, so they're not having to regurgitate their trauma over and over and over again to different agencies and organizations. They only have to go through that one time here, and then we coordinate those comprehensive wraparound services for them from one location. Another really great thing about our community is they're called Hope and Healing bags. And these are bags that are given to all of our sexual assault survivors, whether they're at the hospital or whether they are here at Branch House receiving their exam. An advocate will always bring a Hope and Healing bag. Although each of us wear a lot of hats within our specific lane, we also, are okay with crossing over and helping one another. And so, there have been times that India has opened the door for an agency just because she's might have reached out and said, hey, do you all have this service available? I've got a client here. And all of a sudden it's like, yes, they do. Let's partner.
Hi, my name is India Scalf, INDYASCALF, and I'm the navigator for Branch House Family Justice Center. I am responsible for intakes, but prior to that, I'm answering phones. I'm kind of fielding people to see what services they may be interested in, if they want to do in-person intakes, or if they need to do a Zoom intake. For whatever reason, a lot of people can't get here or may be in a situation where they may only have a short amount of time to maybe go to a friend's house, hang out, and then I can do Zoom intakes that way. That way they're still getting those services without having to come in person. I can also do actual intakes in our dens, so that entails sitting down with the client, gathering some demographic information, kind of seeing what services they're interested in, answering any questions about those services, and then in addition to that, connecting them with our partner and agencies. So as far as like abuse alternatives for outreach advocacy, Frontier Health for therapy, or Safe House for shelter. And then I can also work on orders of protection or safe at home applications. I think with this population, you can give them, and I think this is with all populations and all the situations that I've worked with, you can give them all the tools that they need, but it's really up to them on whether they want to be proactive in taking those tools and applying them to their situations to become self-sufficient. I think that a lot of times we have all of the tools that they need. So if you need advocacy, you can come here. If you need therapy, you can come here. We can help you with shelter. We can even get your animals into shelter so that they're not being harmed while you're, in a safe space trying to get things together. But I think that a lot of times we give people all the tools, and especially with domestic violence, statistics say that they may go back to their abuser 6-7 times before they're actually ready to say, this is enough. I'm ready to be on my own. I'm ready to be self-sufficient. I need to get out of this situation and be safe. And we find that a lot of times it's not just manipulation, it's financial. It's, well, we have kids, or I want my kids to have a stable situation. And it's not stable if you're being abused, but your unsafe person's not being abusive to your kids. That's not a safe situation.
When we're working with you, we teach you those things. You're in therapy. Everything is free because everybody deserves services. And if you are controlled by a partner that doesn't allow you to have money, then you're not going to be able to receive services. So everything that we do here is free for our clients.
My name is Lene Hendricks, and I'm the Sexual Assault Response Team Coordinator for Branch House currently. I also created the on-site independent SANE program, the Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program. and we can perform on-site sexual assault exams 24/7. And I will become the executive director of Branch House in January.
Lene, who is over the sexual assault program, she's done a fabulous job getting us equipment, grants for equipment that we have state-of-the-art equipment in our sexual assault exam room that you're not going to see in an exam room at the hospital. And so when I retire, the board has already voted for her to be the director.
There are numerous benefits to presenting to a offsite facility, an outpatient facility. In a lot of areas, they're called rape crisis centers. Most larger metropolitan areas have them throughout the state and the nation. And the reason that model is so successful is because that's all we do, sexual assault. So when someone comes in needing an exam, they're immediately seen, and we coordinate the service for them. I ensure that we have a SANE here to perform the exam. There's an advocate here to provide emotional support. We can actually have the law enforcement interview here rather than at the police station. We can offer things like orders of protection. If it's campus sexual assault, we can work with the Title IX coordinator if they need to be moved into a different residence hall for their own comfort and safety. But more importantly, following a traumatic event, the chaos of an emergency department is not exactly an emotionally healing environment. I started with ETSU. I worked on a grant in the College of Nursing called the Help Sarah Grant. And the purpose of that grant was to expand SANE training. Before the implementation of the grant at ETSU, there was only one SANE to serve an entire 8-county region. So the grant's purpose was to provide free SANE training, didactic and clinical, to expand the number of available SANEs who could perform the exams and be trained in evidence collection and best practices. So that was kind of how I got my start in the field of sexual assault. I created a website called TennesseeSexualAssaultHelp.com, and there's a QR code on the materials that will take you directly to the website. It is predominantly for survivors of sexual assault. Recently, the state of Tennessee changed some of the legislation surrounding sexual assault, and they expanded victims' rights. Victims' rights are only effective if the victim knows what their rights are. Because we know that if a law enforcement officer asked, even if there was no malice behind it, they were not aware that you couldn't polygraph a victim. If they ask, if the victim doesn't know that that's against the law, they're not going to know to stand up for those rights. So that's exactly why I created the website, so that victims could, in one place, access all the rights that they have through the state of Tennessee, that they can learn what the process of getting an exam is like. They can get numbers to hotlines that can help. They can learn about the impact of trauma and kind of methods for working through trauma, and all the different resources that are available to victims of sexual assault.